I think we're going to change this up a little bit. We're going to go right to the range session and then get right into the nitty gritty. Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we got something really interesting for you. I'm calling this from the Masada to the ACR, which is the history of the Magpul Masada, which eventually became the Bushmaster Remington ACR. Now this goes back to around 2007. 2007, Magpul was certainly at its peak. I mean, Magpul hasn't had a peak its entire 10 years. Has been nothing but one gigantic peak. Magpul decided they were going to throw their hat in the ring to build the next generation assault rifle. They wanted to have something that could potentially replace the M16 M4, and they wanted to take the best of several different kinds of rifles and make the ultimate adaptable rifle in the industry. Hence came 5 months later the Magpul Masada. I was very fortunate at the time. I was writing for Small Arms Review. Drake Clark, back then beardless, Drake flew to Rochester with the prototype Masadas. One was a DMR, one was a standard 14.5 inch selective fire prototypes. He came to Rochester and we got to go out to the Rochester Police Department range and do some test firing, suppressed, unsuppressed, and then he came back to my office and we went over disassembly. So Small Arms Review was able to get one of the first in-depth looks at the new Magpul Masada. And I have to say, when I saw it, I was incredibly taken by it. The adaptability at that time was like nothing ever been seen. Being able to swap out stocks, trigger modules. At that time, still, the concept of a removable barrel was relatively new. Pretty much you only had Carl Lewis at the time doing it with the MRP system. Possibly you may have still had Alex Robinson on Robinson Arms. The XCR may have been around at that time. I'm not sure the exact dates on that. But the rifle was, I definitely would go as far as saying I thought it was revolutionary. Magpul took a lot of different features from different weapon systems. For instance, the bolt mechanism is very similar to the Armalite AR-18, which has been copied on other guns such as the G36, XM8, and so forth. Short stroke tappet operating system. You would also have a M16 style trigger pack using M16 trigger components. But you also had some brand new designs such as the stocks. The original Masada came with this type of stock that you see right here, which is a fully adjustable. So you had an adjustable cheek weld, and you also had a fully adjustable for length, and it also would fold. And you had 1913 rails at the front. You had quad Military 1913 rails. The Masada was it was not a finalized design. Magpul had no interest in becoming a firearms manufacturer, so they were more of the designer. They had shown this thing at the 2007 SHOT Show, and people went nuts over it. Well, in January of 2008, Bushmaster and Magpul went into a licensing agreement that Bushmaster would manufacture the ACR. Well, there was a lot of hype and a lot of expectations. The Magpul Masada was originally supposed to be around the $800 mark, so people were excited about having a rifle that was affordable and this advanced. However, when Bushmaster got a hold of it, they were plagued by delay after delay, saying they had to do a complete re-engineering on it. And it wasn't really until late 2009 where they first became available. Well, some very sad things began happening at that point. Well, first of all, the price was not $800. It was close to $3,000. So all the people who were excited about it, now all of a sudden they couldn't afford it. It was way too expensive. And some of the other issues that came up was it was designed for modularity of the barrel. The barrel, you went 10.5 inch, 14.5 inch, 16.5 inch, and 18 inch. Well, the only barrels that were really available were the 16 inch at the time. And eventually you did see some of the shorter barrels in 5.56. It was also touted as being multi-caliber. Well, up until even now, good luck finding anything other than 5.56. Bushmaster is sort of dropped the ball on this for as far as letting it live up to its potential. There's been no, you would expect 300 blackout, you would expect 6.8, you would expect 7.62 by 39. There's a lot of things that you would have expected to come out this for its modularity. But I think when Bushmaster saw what few numbers they were selling, they sort of dropped the ball and stopped doing it. Magpul never really came out and said how they had felt about the fact that what they had such high hopes for a relatively short life. Now, I don't believe this rifle is dead in the water. No, I don't. I believe that it still has potential with some aftermarket companies who are coming up with new rail systems, coming up with barrel assemblies, different calibers. So they're trying to bring back what Magpul had first envisioned. That price tag just eliminated, probably 90% of the market for who originally would have bought this rifle. I've been watching it for quite some time. I had the first year that they had it out was around 2010, if I recall, and then that time period. If I recall, it was, let me check my cheat sheet here. Yeah, it was in October of 2010 when I had one of these rifles to do a review on for Small Arms Review. And at that time came out the recall. There was a recall that, there was a potential of, in some rifles, when you pull the trigger, you get more than one shot off. So, it was a safety issue. Bushmaster issued a recall. They paid for everything, the shipment and the cost for the rifles to go back. They repaired them. Now, the one that I had, they wanted back, but I had not experienced any issues. So I continued with my test, and my test came out quite well. I enjoyed the rifle quite a bit. And if I recall from my initial testing, the only thing I really didn't care for was it was front heavy. The barrel on here is it's an M4 profile, but it's relatively heavy. So the rifle just wasn't very balanced. It was front heavy. That's really the only complaint that I had with it. I tried several different magazines in it. Everything worked great. I had no malfunctions whatsoever with several different kinds of ammunition. The rifle just worked. But it was one that, at the time, it was just too expensive for my blood. Now, the one you see here is mine. I bought this one a while back. I am quite fond of it. I do enjoy shooting it. What we're going to do is now we're going to go over the scene. We're going to see what makes this thing tick and what makes this thing special. And, take a look at it for yourself. You see if you see the same modularity that I did, or the same thing. Still to this day, I don't think any rifle still has this kind of modularity for as far as being able to swap out stocks, barrels. Some people will say, the SCAR. Not really, because this barrel comes off much easier than the SCAR. The SCAR is using this stock for the most part when you replace it. This lower module here is very easy to replace components. You can put better triggers and everything in it. The SCAR is a lot more complex. But this rifle is still, damn near half the cost of a SCAR 16. So we're going to go through this now. We're going to start here at the rear. Now, there's two different kinds of ACRs available from Bushmaster for commercial sales. First was the standard, and you have the enhanced. What you see here is the enhanced version. What the original version had, it was a fixed side folding stock, meaning it wasn't telescopic. It was a fixed length that by pushing on the lever, it would go over. So this one here is the enhanced stock, which is really cool because you have a cheek weld that rises or lowers. I have an optic on here. I have a Elcan Spectre on here, pretty nice optic. So this allows me to have my eye properly aligned. By pushing on the levers here, it allows you to move the stock in and out. So this one's still relatively new, so it's still pretty stiff. So by pushing a lever on the side, we slide it over. Now this does not have a lock onto it. This is just very easily just opened up like so. Now some people like that, some don't. Some want a more positive lock on it. For me, it doesn't make much of a difference. But you can also see when this is folded, it does not obstruct the ejection port cover whatsoever, so you can fire it like so. Now when you look in the back here, you will also see you do have a compartment in here for storage of batteries and whatnot. Now you will still see on here the Magpul symbol. This is still a Magpul, design Magpul product. They've been heavily involved with Bushmaster in the production of it. So you'll see little Magpul signs on the pistol grip and so forth. But the stock is very easily removed, which we're going to see in a little bit. Now the lower receiver module, the receiver is what's a weapon here. It's what's serialized, not the lower. It's one piece polymer. You have an ambidextrous magazine release, slide release, and your bolt release. So first is your bolt release. Push upward, locks your bolt to the rear. So you have this on both sides. Close it. You have your magazine release on your right, on your left. You have your ambidextrous safety, right side and left side. You do have for a hook type sling, you have right here as well. In the bottom here, takes the Magpul cores. This particular one's set up for batteries. Now, you'll also notice you have several QD sling points. You have quick detach points for sling swivels. This one here is either on the left or right side. You can reverse it. You also have one on each side of the handguard here and here, also here and here. So you have 5 different points where you can place a QD sling, or you have a hook on the left side here. Your charging handle is located on the left side here. However, it can be reversed over to the right side as well. So left or right. I prefer to keep it on the right. As we spoke, this was an enhanced version. And you notice we have quad millistator 1913 rails. You'll see the Mansa rail protectors that I have on here as well. We do have a good code for Mansa rail protectors. Just use product code SACE20. It's SAS20. Now, the original version, it was the standard came with this particular handguard you see right here. The original handguard had the slots where you would put the MO equipment, so you could put the MO vertical pistol grip and any kind of MO attachments on it. This, however, if you're shooting off of a bench, was very, very comfortable. This not so much, but if you had to carry this one was much more comfortable. The sights you see here are the Magpul MO, the polymer sights. Now the handguard and upper receiver are aluminum. This lower receiver here is polymer. The barrel. The barrel is not chrome plated. It is a hammer forged barrel. They initially came in 1 in 9, which people were not happy with because they couldn't handle the 77 grain OTM ammunition. So Bushmaster switched over to a 1 in 7. This one is a 1 in 7. You do have a 2-position gas valve. You have unsuppressed, and you swap it over, and it's suppressed. This is an AAC flash hider on here. This is about to be replaced with a silencer co, so I can use my silencer co can on it. So those are your basic features, and now where it really gets interesting is when we start taking it apart, and you can see how easy it is to swap components out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to push out the pins in the rear. You see it will open up like a AR-15. You separate the upper from the lower receiver. Now, stock assembly. Now, when we look at our lower receiver, we can see that the trigger pack. The trigger pack is removable, and it has a standard AR-15 M16 type trigger assembly. Now this is the semi-automatic only version, so we don't have to worry about the auto series or anything like that. But this is a standard mil spec, probably around 7.5 pound trigger pull. This is a typical military one, but it can be remedied very, very quickly. Geisley Automatics offers a Super ACR trigger to replace this, and is an incredible 2-stage trigger. It's I just haven't gotten around to installing it yet. The rifle that I had prior to this, 14E, had this in it, so I had gotten quite a bit of trigger time with it. I've gotten this, I just haven't had time to install it yet. But this makes this trigger night and day. But this trigger here is a typical mil-spec type combat trigger. Not too much creep, but it's not a match grade trigger by no means. As you can see from the stock assembly here, the original one, again, was it was side folding, but it did not have the telescopic capability, nor did it have the rising capability here of a cheek riser. Now this stock has gone on to be put on many rifles. This, for anybody who has a SCAR, Connect Development Group manufactures one of these for the ACR. In fact, I have it on both my ACRs. Much better than the original SCAR stock. I think this is probably one of the finer ones. And also, I just saw a couple times the Robinson Armament XCR with this as well. Just don't tell Alex Robinson he doesn't care for these too much. Now we remove the bolt assembly. Now to remove the handguard, we have another captive detent pin. That's all there is to it. Now, when you look at the bolt mechanism, what you see here is almost identical to that of the Armalite AR-18, and that's probably the most, I'd say the most copied bolt mechanism on most modern day rifles. G36 utilizes it. The XM8 utilized it. At least utilized it. It's amazing it didn't do better back in its day. To show you how to do disassembly of this very, very easily. You're going to push in and you're going to rotate. The recoil spring comes right out. Same recoil spring used supposedly for all calibers. Now the only caliber I have this in is 5.56. You have a firing pin retaining pin that you remove. You have your firing pin. Notice you do have a firing pin retainer spring. We're going to address this a little bit. Why would this have that? It's not common, but in a lot of rifles that have a higher rate of fire, if you have ammunition that does not utilize a military grade primer, military grade primers are harder than commercial. The commercial ones are much softer, and sometimes with those commercial primers, just the inertia from the free floating of the firing pin when the bolt locks, tapping it would be enough to set it off. So you put the recoil springs on. This is extra insurance that even with the worst case scenario, light primers, it will not go off. Now we have a cam pin that will just drop out like so. Bolt comes right out. Bolt is very similar to that of an AR-15 M16 multi-lug system. That's really all there is to it. Now we have the barrel assembly. We push down, rotate, and the barrel assembly comes right out. So that is your whole barrel assembly, as you see. Now this does come apart here as well. So as you can see, we have a short stroke tappet operating system right here. Now the barrels, the way it was supposed to be anyways, was you were to have a drop-in barrel assembly like this in 300 blackout and 6.8. 300 blackout, all you would do was change out your barrel. And you'd leave the same bolt. 6.8, you would change out your barrel, your bolt, and your magazine. Now I addressed this a little bit before, but this is not a chrome-plated barrel. Which we have here is a hammer forged barrel, 1 in 7, and it's nitride coated, which nitride, according to many, is more durable and more reliable and more accurate than chrome plating. It still has yet to be seen. I am not really too convinced of that yet. Then again, I haven't had a lot of experience with these kind of barrels. I mostly use mil-spec chrome plated barrels. And this is your main receiver. And that's really all there is to it for disassembly. So you can see how you can take this and you can swap out components. You could add a different stock. Now, again, the sad thing is that Bushmaster has not banked on this. They have not put the money into it to give this all the modularity that it was designed around. That probably is the saddest part, I guess, from my point. Has the rifle been a complete failure? Absolutely not. It was submitted to the individual carbine program. So they have submitted it. They have submitted it to other military contracts all over the world. I have yet to be made aware of anybody who's actually adopted it. And I imagine the reason no one's adopted it is its cost. It's a very, very expensive, weapons platform. So now for reassembly. So all there is to that, putting that back on. Put our handguard back on. This is always fun. I always have a hard time lining this thing up perfectly. There we go. Now we're going to put our bolt assembly back together. Now notice this is not compatible with any AR-15 bolt. It's totally different. We're going to drop in like so. We're going to make sure that our extractor is facing to the right. Drop in our cam pin. Drop in our firing pin. We're going to push our firing pin all the way in. Insert our firing pin retaining pin. Just like so. Drop in like so. Now, as far as reliability, this thing was designed with reliability in mind, especially in the sandy environment. If you notice, you will see there's a big space here between the bolt and the magazine. That was done on purpose to allow sand or any kind of dirt when it hit to drop freely. Designed around the Magpul PMag, however, this rifle will utilize any magazine that I have put through it. I've been using the Troy Battle Mag. I've used Lancers, USGI, Troy, God, you name it. I probably had 10 or 15 different manufacturers of magazines through this thing, and every one of them worked fine, dropped free. Locks back on the last shot like you would expect like out of an AR type rifle. As far as accuracy was concerned, with 77 grain OTMs with this, I was probably getting around 2 to 2.5 inches with it. It's not a precision rifle. I would definitely give a properly made AR the slight edge over this, or maybe even a bigger edge over for precision accuracy for group sizes. However, for combat performance, this is well within any requirements you would have for a combat rifle. Absolutely. Reliability, durability has been there. I haven't really seen any issues with anybody else I know who has these, for as far as having any kind of malfunctioning with them. It's a very robust, durable, reliable design. There really could have been a lot of potential for this to be the next U.S. service rifle. I do believe that. Unfortunately, the way the stars aligned with the development after it left Magpul, with the issues it went through for as far as the quality control issues, it went through a lot of growing pains for as far as the kept going, extending the time and time before it got released. And then there was really a lot of hype on this. I mean, people were dying for it until they saw that price tag. I think if anything really destroyed this thing's really real potential was its price tag. Because when you're looking at a military rifle, something that's going to be a possible infantry rifle, there is no way you can go at $3,000 a piece. It's just not going to work. If you look at the price of M4s right now for the U.S. government, you're looking around around $500 for an M4 carbine. To think you're going to take a rifle that's $3,000, it's going to replace that. It's just not going to happen. Bushmaster made it very clear that there's a lot of money that went into the research and development of this thing, And I'm sure they did. I'm sure that they said that they did a complete re-engineering of this over what the Masada was. You did see a picture in this video of a comparison between the Masada and this. There are many similarities, and there definitely is a few differences as well. But I think once Bushmaster started selling them, they started seeing that people weren't buying them. I think a lot of their fire to market and the potential went out the window. They just they dropped the ball on providing all these incredible accessories, especially the barrel change. You buy a rifle that's its premises is built on being able to swap out barrels, being able to have multiple calibers, but then you don't offer those. This year at SHOT Show 2017, I did see for the first time Bushmaster show barrels chambered in 300 blackout. Now, I have not seen any since. I have been looking around for some 6.8 and some 300 blackout barrels for this. I have yet to see them yet, so I don't know if Bushmaster was just teasing us or what. But for this rifle to succeed and for it to endure, I do believe it's going to fall on the aftermarket manufacturers to manufacture the barrels and the bolts to make this thing do what it was originally supposed to fire multi-calibers. I don't see this being too much of an issue. I know we already have companies who are manufacturing, new rails, aluminum rails, M-lock and so forth. So there are some people coming out of the woodwork to do such. I would like to see Remington come out with, or Bushmaster come out for sale with the aluminum lower receivers as well. Their polymer, some of the Remington ACRs that they've had for export and military trials utilize aluminum lower receiver instead of a polymer one. I'd like to see some of that stuff available for this as well. I would love to be able to use one of my Myad pistol grips on this, but this is all one piece. It's not that it's not uncomfortable by no means. I just would like to have my Magpul Myad on it. It's always been a rifle that I've had a lot of interest in. It's always been one that really thought that it missed its boat. It missed its opportunity just because of the politics that went on in between Magpul handing it off to Bushmaster. Bushmasters with the constant issues with release dates, and then with that ungodly price, I think it really took away from what this thing could have been. I don't believe that it's over. You're still seeing the ACR compete for some of the higher, more prestigious military contracts. However, unfortunately, it's not winning. But I don't believe this rifle is going anywhere. It does have its champions. We still all hope with great optimism that one day the prices are going to come down on these, so they're more affordable to the masses, because it is one hell of a design. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.